Tokyo, Japan, December 30th, 2000. A quiet neighborhood, just before New Year's celebrations. But in one unassuming home, a brutal tragedy struck in a way that continues to haunt the nation. This is the mystery of the Setagaya family murders. On the morning of December 31st, 2000, as Tokyo buzzed with anticipation for the new millennium, a horrifying discovery was made in the quiet suburb of Setagaya. While the nation prepared for celebration, a profound darkness was about to cast a long shadow over the turn of the century. In this peaceful neighborhood, an entire family lay silent, their lives brutally extinguished on the very cusp of a new era. The Miyazawa family, 44-year-old Mikio, 41-year-old Yasuko, and their children, 8-year-old Nina and 6-year-old Rei, were the picture of domestic happiness. But on this final morning of the year, a chilling silence had fallen. Yasuko's mother, who lived next door, felt a growing unease as her repeated phone calls went unanswered. It was a small deviation from routine, but one that felt deeply wrong. With a spare key, she crossed the short distance between their homes, her heart pounding with a premonition of tragedy. The scene that greeted her, and later the first responding officers, was one of shocking brutality. In a country with one of the lowest homicide rates in the world, the sheer violence was a visceral shock. The initial call to police was frantic, but nothing could have prepared them for the reality inside. They stepped from a tranquil, orderly street into a house of chaos and death, a level of violence that felt alien to modern Japan. All 4 family members had been murdered. Mikio, Yasuko, and their daughter Nina were found with dozens of savage stab wounds. Upstairs, in his own bed, little Rei had been strangled. The initial theory of a robbery gone wrong quickly crumbled. The violence was too extreme, too personal. As forensic teams began combing through the house, a far stranger and more disturbing picture began to emerge. This wasn't just a crime scene, it was a paradox of carnage and calm. The killer hadn't simply fled. Evidence suggested they had lingered for up to 10 hours after the murders. They used the family's computer. They ate ice cream from the freezer, leaving the empty cups out. They had even used the bathroom and appeared to have taken a nap on a sofa. This wasn't the behavior of a panicked intruder. It was the calm, audacious conduct of a killer who felt a chilling sense of ownership over the home, leaving behind a bizarre trail of clues that would both fascinate and frustrate investigators for decades to come. Instead of fleeing, the murderer lingered inside the home for an astonishing 10 hours. This chilling display of audacity suggested a killer who was either incredibly arrogant or operating on a psychological plane completely devoid of fear. He wasn't a frantic intruder covering his tracks. He was a predator making himself at home within the very walls where he had just committed a horrific crime, utterly unconcerned with the consequences or the possibility of being caught. He moved through the house with a disturbing sense of calm. He sat at the family's computer, not to erase data, but to surf the web, even attempting to buy theater tickets. He then went to the kitchen, opened their freezer, and helped himself to ice cream, leaving the empty container and spoon on the counter. He drank tea, used their bathroom without flushing in a final act of desecration, and even took a nap on the living room sofa, resting amidst the carnage he had wrought. In a final, taunting gesture, he left behind a curated collection of his own belongings. His sweatshirt and jacket were not discarded in a panic, but left neatly folded. He abandoned his fanny pack, his gloves, and even the murder weapon itself, a sashimi knife. It was a bizarre and deliberate act, almost as if he were staging the scene, leaving a personal signature for the authorities to find. For investigators, the scene was a forensic goldmine. The killer's DNA was everywhere, on the food he ate, the computer he used, and in his own blood, from injuries sustained during the struggle. Clear fingerprints were lifted from multiple surfaces. His footprints, made by a specific model of Korean-made Slazenger sneakers, patterned the floors. Even the sand found inside his fanny pack was analyzed, traced back to specific locations, including the Edwards Air Force Base in California. With a complete DNA profile, clear fingerprints, the killer's clothing, and his shoe size, investigators were overwhelmingly confident. An arrest seemed not just imminent, but inevitable. The case felt open and shut. But despite this unprecedented mountain of physical evidence, a virtual autobiography of the killer left in blood and fingerprints, the man himself vanished without a trace. He had left behind everything but his name, becoming a ghost who continues to haunt one of the most baffling cold cases in modern history. Cases like this show how even the smallest detail can hide a chilling story. If you want more haunting true crime mysteries like the Setagaya murders, don't forget to subscribe. It helps us uncover more of the world's darkest unsolved cases. The brutality of the crime sent shockwaves across Japan, prompting an immediate and unprecedented response. The Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department launched one of the largest investigations in the nation's history. A special task force was established in Setagaya, becoming the nerve center for a manhunt that would, over the years, involve more than 240,000 officers. Every available resource was poured into the case, with the initial belief that the killer, who had left behind a treasure trove of evidence, would be caught within days. But this massive mobilization would become a testament not to their success, but to the baffling elusiveness of their phantom suspect. Inside the home, investigators found a forensic gold mine. The killer had been astonishingly careless. His DNA was recovered from bloodstains, from half-eaten ice cream cups, and most brazenly, from his own feces left unflushed in the upstairs toilet. It was a complete profile, which quickly revealed his blood type was type A. Beyond DNA, the killer left behind numerous clear fingerprints, on the window frame, the refrigerator, and even on the family's computer mouse. With so much physical evidence, a positive identification felt inevitable. The police had the killer's DNA and his fingerprints. All they needed was a name. The clues extended to the killer's attire, which he had bizarrely left folded at the scene. Investigators traced his black bucket hat, his Uniqlo fleece jacket, and a distinctive pair of Slazenger sneakers. But each item led to a frustrating dead end. The jacket and hat were mass-produced. The sneakers were more unique, primarily sold in South Korea, opening a new but vast avenue of inquiry. Perhaps the most peculiar clue was found inside the hip bag he left behind: trace amounts of sand. Forensic analysis traced it not to a Japanese beach but to the Edwards Air Force Base area in California. Each clue was a paradox, incredibly specific yet leading nowhere. But the most profound and perplexing clue of all was locked within his DNA. Advanced analysis of his mitochondrial DNA, passed down from the maternal line, revealed his mother was of European descent, with markers common to people from the Adriatic or Mediterranean Sea region. In stark contrast, his Y chromosome DNA from the paternal line was definitively East Asian, with markers common in Koreans, Chinese, and Japanese people. The combination was extraordinarily rare in Japan. This genetic ghost story painted a picture of a man who didn't fit neatly into any demographic box. This incredibly specific detail should have been the key to unlocking the case. Instead, it became the central pillar of its enduring mystery. With a mountain of data leading nowhere, the investigation stalled, and the realm of theory took over. Who was this man? One theory posits he was a foreign mercenary or soldier, possibly from South Korea, given the shoes and ruthless efficiency. Another paints him as a disgruntled youth, perhaps from the local skateboarding scene, which could explain his clothing and the late-night hour. A third, more chilling theory suggests he was an ethnic Korean resident of Japan who harbored a deep-seated grudge. Yet, despite a 20 million yen reward and decades of public appeals, every lead has evaporated. The case grew colder, and the killer of Setagaya remains a ghost who simply vanished into the night. The Setagaya house stood for years as a frozen crime scene, boarded up but untouched, a painful reminder for the community. Locals avoided walking near it, claiming they could still feel the heaviness of what happened inside. The family's relatives continued to demand justice, but year after year, the case remained unsolved. Over 2 decades later, the Setagaya family murders remain one of Japan's most haunting unsolved crimes. A killer left behind mountains of evidence, yet somehow slipped into the shadows, never to be found. Was he a drifter, a neighbor, or someone far more connected than anyone realized? The truth may still be hidden, waiting to be uncovered.